Um, Hello everyone. My name is Papaso, and I am currently studying Master of English Language Study and Teaching at the National Institute of Development Administration.
Hello everyone, my name is Jacinto. I'm currently attending MA program English Language Study and Teaching at National Institute of Development Administration.
Hello everyone, I'm Kainjiu. I'm a student of English Language Studies and Teaching program at NIDA. So today we invite a guest speaker to share her experience and perspective about Myanmar and the US culture. Today's topic is experiencing different cultural values and the US and Myanmar. So we organized this interview for the purpose of pointing out the different cultural values of diverse group to avoid misunderstanding in intercultural and cross-cultural communication, and providing the knowledge on the differences of classroom culture and work culture in Myanmar and the US. And then we would like to understand the different culture and the ways to overcome the challenges. So before we start, I would like to tell briefly about our guest speaker, Ms. Jessica. So her name is Eng King, or Jessica is currently the Director of Admission and Student Affairs at Parham University, degree and master degree from Buckner University, Pennsylvania, USA. She returned to Myanmar in 2018 and worked for educational projects. Now she is working for the Parham University and education opportunity for youth in Myanmar. So let's meet our guest speaker, Ms. Jessica. Hello, Ms. Jessica.
Hello, thank you for having me here.
Thank you for joining us today. So let's start our interview. So before we would like to know that like you have studied in Myanmar and also in US. So we would like to know, to what extent, what did you know about the US culture before you go to US?
Yeah, so giving a little bit of my background, I was born and raised in Yangon. I went to the government school until seventh grade and learned Burmese. So, you know, when I was younger, one of the requirements is for me to study English on weekends. And, you know, to enhance my English skills, I also had access to a lot of TV channels for cartoons and music. So, you know, I learned about the US culture through the pop culture, you know, the movies and the songs. And it was a lot of these very like fun, active, and open society, right? Teenagers having fun and playing games. That kind of impression was upon me since I was very young. And when I was older, when I was in middle school, my aunts were in the US. So, you know, I also learned about the US culture through them, what they do, what they eat, you know, how they love sandwiches and things like that. So, you know, always from, you know, the movies or the people who were in the US. And I also know about, you know, how they were more of like an individualistic society, how independent the young people can be, you know, because when I was in middle school, my aunts will always compare me to those youth in the US and how um, like independent and how brave they were, you know, going around and exploring things, and that I should also try that too. So that was kind of like the first impression of US culture.
Yes. So I would like to know more, like, how did you start your education journey as an international student?
Yeah, so that also is kind of like my privilege too. You know, I have to acknowledge that not a lot of people in Myanmar or Yangon have that experience. So after middle school, I was transferred to this international high school. International high schools in Myanmar are significantly more expensive, and not a lot of families can afford to send their students, kids there. So, I was very privileged, that my family could support me to study at an international school. My education journey, to study abroad in the US pretty much started at the international school. And I attended at the So I study at this international school in Yangon. Um, and since then I had to take a lot of like science courses, math courses, humanities, social sciences, all these like variety of courses um, that a lot of, I guess, Western students experience. In Myanmar we had to memorize, right? Like study everything um, by heart to just get good scores and not to understand, not to think about it. But at international school, I was pretty much um, like had to be transformed into this like thinking individual. I had to question everything. I had to research on my own. I had to do projects with my friends, and yeah. So I studied there till my senior year, my 12th grade, and at international school, it's very resourceful as well. I had counselors that I can meet since I was a junior in junior year, to start talking about my college um, journey. I told them that I wanted to study in the US, and they helped me with the list of colleges or the majors that I might be interested. And then we started talking about it, preparing personal statements, essay, things like that, since my later in my junior year. So my journey to study abroad in the US started as an international school student in Yangon, and yeah, it went from there. But for me, like when I have to think about it, it seems pretty straightforward compared to a lot of students in Myanmar.
So Jessica, so you first moved to the US to study undergrad program, right? So we'd like to know what kind of cultural shock that you have encountered when you first arrived there. And so we also would like to know how you overcame the difficulties and adapt to a new environment,
Right,
which is like the society which has a totally different culture from us.
right, yeah. When I study at the international school back in Yangon, most of the time, like not all of the time, we're talking and speaking, presenting, doing projects in English, right? So English is not, in my opinion, difficult, right? Like I could at least use it to communicate it well, right? That's what I thought. And when I first went to the US, they were like minor culture shock, which goes with the language, the usage. um, I learned both British English and American English, right? I think a lot of Myanmar students learn that. And when we had to first communicate there was some kind of like misusages for some terms. And one small thing is that, I tried to ask for something at a coffee shop and they couldn't understand me. And I thought I was saying it right. But that was like, the common culture shock that I had. And another thing was, I guess, although I have seen that a lot in the movies and pop culture, I didn't expect how open and like independent and just like um independent they were. I guess, when I first met my hallmates, when I first met my classmates, they were they look like they know exactly how they need to learn, right? Because tying back to some sort of our culture, right? Like in Myanmar, when you study, especially in the cities, if you can afford to take extra classes after school. Your parents will make you go to those extra classes, get the tutors, get all sort of like additional support for you to study, right? And even at my international school, because of the culture, I had to attend extra classes after class to learn more. In the US, there's no extra class, there's no tutor, right? And when you study, you have to study on your own. You have to know how you have to study, your learning style, and everything like that. And I think that was the first culture shock, because suddenly there was no one next to me who can guide me and who can explain me the lessons again, right? I had to go meet the faculty. I have to go ask questions, but like the questions that actually helped me study. I had to reach out to the learning center to um, be in the group study classes or to have tutors, right? That was one of my biggest culture shocks there, because suddenly you are on your own and you have to study on your own, and that might be the major one. And other things include like using the laundry machines and using the coin slots. We don't have coins, right? In Myanmar, we don't have coin machines. Like I don't know which one it was, dime or which one was nickel, penny, and small things like that. And sometimes they use yeah, it was just like small things following all the big things, like studying. So yeah. And how did I adapt? I think oh yeah, so yeah, to adapt, I think you just have to have enjoy making those mistakes. You just like, if they say something, you just laugh it out loud. Um, in Myanmar, we used to call straw a pipe, right? Pipe, and in English it's pipe, like pipe for water pipelines. So at Starbucks, I ordered coffee, iced coffee, and I wanted a straw, but I didn't know how to call straw, so I asked, "Can I get a bite?" And they were so confused. They were like visibly so confused, and they pointed at the pipe near the sink, and I was like, "No, the pipe." And that was like a lot of like hand gestures and like facial expressions, to make them understand you. And yeah, and then yeah, now I know it's straw, right? But there's like one moment that you have to learn it, right? So just have to have fun with that.
So you have to struggle a lot at first. So can you also share us like how did you build your relationship with your classmate and teacher in the classroom at first?
Yeah, there's also another barrier, I would say, right? Like, making um, friendships, or like, meeting your classmates. You kind of have to break the ice, right? You always have to be like, "Hi, my name is, I'm studying." That kind of went on for like 2 years. So that was like in every class you always meet someone new, and you always have to start the conversation again. "I'm from Myanmar. It's between Thailand and India, just below China. It's in Southeast Asia," all that geographical references. So but a lot of my classmates were supportive and curious about where I was from, and that was, I think, a very good um point, for me to make friends, because at least they were curious, at least they were interested to learn more about me. So that's how I kind of have like this um uh, my friendship with my classmates. And with studying, I also briefly mentioned, I was surrounded with like tutors and extra classes that I don't really have to actively study on my own, at my own time, at my own pace. Everything just comes through to me through like exercises and worksheets and repetition, so that I learn like through that. So when I had to first study for this test, it was an open book in biology class, and it was open book that I thought it would be easy, right? Like the answer should be in the book. It's open book. So I wasn't even paying attention. I thought, like in Myanmar, I would like memorize every important thing. I know, which enzyme is doing what, and I know which pathway is doing what. Is just, you know, biology that I'm already familiar with. So I just went to class, and like the paper came back, I got a D minus, and I was shocked. I was, okay, what happened, right? Like, so the first time I met with my teacher was to pretty much complain because I got very low grade, and I was like, what happened, right? And like they were like, what happened to you? And so, you know, I started asking like, okay, so in this question, what did I not understand? In this question, what did I not understand? So that was a conversation I first started with the teacher, you know, because I think they asked certain things. I understood a certain way. I answered it in another way. It was wrong, obviously, because I got a D. So, you know, after that, I started going to office hours. I started understanding why the office hours are valuable, right? So I ask the teachers, like professors, if I don't understand something. But another thing is, you know, you have to go on your own, right? The professor will not invite you, you know, they will not tell you that, oh, you're getting low grades, you're getting bad scores, come to my office hour this time, this time. No, they will already announce it right before the class, and you pretty much have to take your self there, make time, you know, if the office hours on Tuesday at 1 p.m., you have to make sure that you are free on Tuesday at 1 p.m. to meet with that professor to ask questions. And, you know, like slowly I had to I learned I found a lot of resources as well. You know, Writing Center helped me with a lot of academic writing. Tutors helped me understand, especially my science courses, and faculty office hours. I feel more comfortable talking to the faculty. I think that might be culture shock for many students. I don't think just in the US, I think anywhere, you know, for students to go and reach out and ask for help, right? That was the culture that I wasn't, I didn't grow up in, and you know, asking for help, and you know, making sure that I'm responsible for my own learning. So that might be like the culture and the learning culture in the US.
Okay. So in addition to the classroom culture, so we also would like to know what kinds of like cultural events, for example, like holidays and fan activities that you enjoy and you participate at. Also, we also would like to know what activities do you enjoy most and did you like the most among them?
Yeah, so my school was in East Coast, right? It's in Pennsylvania, where it gets super pretty during fall and spring. So there are a lot of culture events, you know, from the US, right? Like in the fall, we had activities for fall, like pumpkin picking, pumpkin carving, corn maze, hayride, things like that. So I really enjoyed that. There were, you know, a lot of activities around that. In certain season like Christmas, Thanksgiving is big, and and then in spring, we also have a lot of like activities by other student-led organizations. You know, so there are a lot of culture events, not just for the US. We also have culture events for the international students. You know, I had the Burmese culture event, there was South Asian culture event, Southeast Asian culture event, Vietnamese culture event, Japanese culture event. So there are a lot of things like that. So, you know, if I have time, if I can make time, I try to join as much as I can. You know, it can be quite exhausting with all your coursework and everything. But so one of the activities that I enjoy a lot, I think, was well, there are a few. So the first one is the fall one, right? Like pumpkin curving. You sign up and you get a pumpkin. You get all these like curving materials, and you can just curve with like your friends. And it was really fun. And then you put a little tea candle inside, tea light inside, and then, you know, but like that's like very new, right? That's something you always like watch in the movies. You know, put it outside, you know, your door when October rolls around. So I really enjoyed that. Another thing I think is this Christmas gift uh, event. So I think it's also because our school is big on civic engagement. They really likes to like give back to the community. So, before Christmas every year, there's a big Christmas tree in front of the library, like and the entrance of the library, and there'll be a lot of like requests from uh, like people, like individuals, like kids and adults around in the community. So sometimes they want a new sweater, sometimes they want a new toy car, right? Like they wrote everything down and put it on the Christmas tree. And for the students at my university, we look at each request, right, and then see what I can afford, see what we can afford, and then we can like go get it. So I usually love gifting and packing those secret gifts to the people in the community. So that's also what I participated. In the other culture events like South Asian culture events and Burmese culture events, of course, I'll be participating actively, whether it be like serving food or advertising or even dancing. So yeah, I try to stay active, quite a little bit active on campus like that. Yeah.
Right. So as far as we know that the US or people or the like Western cultures, they are more like individualisms, right? So but we as Asian people, we are more like collectivistics. So you have experience like in working with two different cultural backgrounds, like with US people and when you were there, and also like we're now working like in Myanmar. So do you think like the people you deal with in these two different workplaces, like they have such attitude towards individualistic and collectivistics?
That's interesting. Yeah, I think like at first I thought it was like very individualistic culture, right? They don't care about what other people think. They don't like to be in like teamwork. They don't want to work together. That kind of like um impression, right, I have from them. And on campus I had like two jobs. First is in the library, the second one is in the hall. So I think I think my understanding on individualism I kind of shifted there. So when I was in the library, it was by shift, right? Like you sign up for certain hours that you're available to work. In the morning at 8 to 10, like you pick certain days and times, and you can like work there. And when I was in the halls, I was a residential advisor. So I was with a few other residential advisors in my community. So I have like two different like work experience there. So first one, I'll just pick up the shift. I go work from, if I sign up 8 to 10, I'll work 8 to 10. I will not work until like 10:15, right? So I'll just expect someone to like come on time and do their own thing and be responsible with their time, right? Like, so if someone signs up for 10, like I expect them to be there at 10. And I'll leave my desk and I'll finish my responsibilities at the desk. So like in some way I kind of get that individualistic like vibe, like work culture from there, because you only get paid for your time. You um you don't have to cover other people's shift, like unless they request it in advance, right? And you're like you take responsibility of your tasks and time and things like that. So I think that's like the culture of like individualistic culture that they have there. However, when I work as as a residential advisor, hall advisor, I had to do like rounds at night to make like the residents are safe, the students are safe, and that they are not violating like policies, right? They're not breaking things, they're not fighting in the hallway, they are not trashing the hallway, things like that. And if I needed help, during those rounds, during those checking times, I would call up another hall advisor, if they're available there to help me out. So I think they practice individualistic culture in a way to promote like independence and self-reliance. Like you are like very you do things on your own to a certain level, and if you need help, you reach out and then call them up, and they will be there if they're available, right? So I think that's how I experience the way they work. I think if I were back in Myanmar, right, like if the same work experiences are in Myanmar, even if we're done with the shift, we'll not leave. We'll talk to our friends, they catch up, how they are doing. We'll stay there. I think people there don't do that much. Also with like doing rounds on the hall, right? If you know your friend is available, they might want to help and join you, but there you're on your own. You do your duty, you like perform your duties, and you complete things on your own, and you become more of a self-reliant person. So yeah, I think that's like the individualistic culture that you might be wondering.
Okay, thank you so much for your sharing experience, Emma. You live in US like quite long, so I think at first you encounter such kind of like culture shock. So what we would like to know more is when you came back from US, you might have some kind of like reverse culture shock because you are facing like different culture for quite long, and when you came back from US and when you live in Burma again, so you might have some culture shocks. And how did you handle it, like reverse culture shock?
So yeah, reverse culture shock is interesting because you thought you will fit in right away to some place that you grew up in for like 17, 18 years, right? Like you grew up in Myanmar and you live in the US for 6 years, and then you came back, you think you'll fit right in. And so when I came back, it was interesting because I live in the US, I become more like um, more initiative. If there are certain things wrong, I would like to tell that whoever is responsible. I see things in different perspective. Like I'm always like I always have this like problem solving mindset as well, and I think that's not helpful most of the time if people are not asking. So there are certain skills that I gained from the US. I become more um I get outspoken. I become very independent. I stay on my own. I become very I don't know, self-reflective, things like that, certain skills that I gained a lot from US because, I had to adapt and stay in that culture, like you said, for a while. So I came back to Myanmar. I thought I'll be okay just going around town on my own. And, my relatives will ask me, like, oh, you're a girl. Like, how are you on your own? Are you walking around like alone? And I would be like, well, it's okay, right? And they said, no, women don't, go around alone. Another thing is, when they're like men in conversation, right? Like my like fathers, uncles, the, if or any other guys, if they're talking um some controversial topics or the topic that I know, and if I want to jump in, I would do that. But no, mostly the people in Myanmar don't do that, right? If like adults are talking, you stay on your own, and even if they're saying right thing or wrong thing, you just like nod your head and not contribute. And I would just, for me, I would just jump in and I would just join the conversation. It was not okay. And and also with yeah, I just like other things like traveling on my own. I don't know if it's like reverse culture shock. I just being more independent. I think it also depends on the individual as well, and how confident you get. And yeah, certain things, for example, like saying thank you more often, and people will be like, why are you saying thank you all the time? Or yeah, what other culture shock did I face? I guess in a sense, the whole the whole characteristic, like the way I ask questions, the way I join the conversations, the way I do things on my own. They are all new to people. If I have to go out and I would just go out and people don't think it's safe. And yeah, those things I have to like tell my mom or tell my relatives like that's okay, like I know how to take care of myself, and they'll be like, no, your mom is different, you're a girl, you listen to what we say, things. So I didn't actually adapt back. I would say I don't think I came back to Myanmar, had the face the reverse culture shock, but then I don't think I tried to adapt back into the culture. I kind of keep it as it is, good for me, especially with my workplace and when I'm working with other individuals. I never I'm not worried about like breaking the ice or introducing myself first, like that kind of small things. That would be like small thing I would say are good for me, with my interactions with other people. So I don't think I adapt back to the old Myanmar culture. If they're very conservative and outdated norms that people follow, I try to question it, and I try to just leave it as is. If I can't change anything, yeah.
You have to fight a lot, and
Just
quite
like
interesting. Like you have to Burmese people don't say thank you, so sorry, right? Usually to
right,
family member or something like that. And you are
yeah,
used to saying
small things, yeah.
And then uh we noted like you have sent teaching experience in Burma, and then so what we would like to know is, did you predict like teaching style, or you a teacher from US, or you only follow the like Myanmar norms, and you predict like other teacher that's in Myanmar? So we would like to know that experience.
Yeah, so when I first came back from the US, I hold a master's degree in education, but in student affairs. However, that master's degree at first, for a lot of people in Myanmar, they think is pretty much equivalent to the teaching degree. So I started teaching with that. I don't really have a teaching certificate for so as to say, right? So, but then I had a lot of like classroom experience and how I experienced learning as a student, and so I try to how to say apply it back in my classroom. So when I first came back from the US, I taught IELTS courses, TOEFL courses, and I also taught at a private institution like psychology, study skills, and other English courses. So when I first came back, I got a lot of ideas like how to make the classroom very active. How can I make sure the students are always participating, right? Like how do you like make it very student centered, right? So that because that's exactly how I learned. I was asked a lot of questions, asked to be in the discussion, asked to make, create, right? Create posters, draw, present. So, you learn when you actually make something on your own. So, even if it is like a short course or, a semester long course, I will try to incorporate those things that I have learned back from the US into my classes. So, I think the responses were good. The students actually liked it. So, for example, if I'm teaching a certain concept in psychology, I will not just say like, okay, go to page 60 and read this paragraph. Tell me what you think, that kind of thing. I always start with like a fun activity that they are not expecting. And, after like 5 or 10 minute activity, I will ask them, okay, what did you see? Or what did you learn? And they will always be like, oh, was it this? Was it that? For example, illusions, right? Like when you think about like perception, illusion, that kind of topic, like instead of just teaching the students about the eyes or how the environment is. I just show them like illusion videos for 15 minutes and they get so dizzy. And then now after that I started teaching. So like I always try to like make it fun and active and hands-on and something that students can relate to. So I think that was really helpful when I and do it back in Myanmar as students had fun. So yeah, and I think I also noticed that a lot of like classes here lack that as well. You know, the students are so used to passively learning in class, right? They always love to sit in certain place, have a notebook and a pen, and make sure everything is aligned. And and when you don't ask students to take notes, they think it's weird. So I think that was an interesting experience teaching students there.
Yeah, you, it seems like you can integrate your experience in your teaching, right?
I try. Yeah.
Okay, and then last but not least, what we would like to know is like, could you suggest anything for our youth and people in Myanmar who want to seek like educational opportunities or like career opportunity in different culture like US or other Western country, so that they don't have or like lessen culture shock. So could you suggest?
Yeah. I think the first thing they have to kind of keep in mind is that there'll be culture shock anywhere, right? Like you can never prepare for it enough. Even Thailand, right? You guys, you are in Thailand. It's very close to our country. It's Asian country. We thought the cultures would be similar, but you still have culture shock. The way they do things, the way they communicate. So I think the first thing that the youth, right, like young people need to keep in mind that there'll be culture shock, and you should just be open to that and enjoy learning through culture shock. I think another thing is, especially for those in Myanmar, right? We always get to ask for help. There are certain things, right? Like you never know how much is enough, right? Like, or is it too much when you ask for something? So I think you always have to be like respectful and be considerate, right? Whenever you do certain things, but like I would say ask for help. Ask if you don't know anything. Go to ask that information. Just your professors. Even when you're walking around, go ask someone if you don't can't find certain thing. So if they want to help, great. Just say thank you afterwards. If they can't, don't take it personally. Just go ask someone else because some people might be busy. So I think another thing is ask for help, ask to find resources and use those resources. And I think also, you know, like people are curious in by nature, right? They always want to know about another people, and that's how we build relationships, right? That's how we have friends. So some people they might be excited to know about you, curious to know about where you're from Myanmar, what's Myanmar culture like. Not a lot of people know about Myanmar culture, so they will ask a lot. But also don't forget to ask about their culture as well, like things that you want to know about their food, about their festivals. That can be like it should be back and forth, right? Like, so whenever someone's like willing to learn more about your culture or you, make sure you reciprocate as much as you can too, so that can show your respect, that can show your curiosity, and you will learn more about another culture in an easier way. So I think those are some suggestions I have.
Thank you for your like interesting experience sharings and like thanks for the suggestion. I can also learn a lot like different
Yeah,
culture you trying to fix things and like
yeah,
suggestion that how we can adapt into like new culture. So thank you for
yeah.
your contributions and in accepting our invitation.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, it's definitely, this will not cover in an hour, of course, but I guess the essence of culture shock, the the common experience that we have regardless of where we are, right? Regardless of the culture. I hope people will be able to understand and relate to that as well. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ma, for your time. And that
you
was
for
really happy.
yeah.
Thank you so much. It's very
Cuba.
great to hear your personal experience from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.